Hello and welcome to Stories About Mormons. I'm Jared Higdon. I'm your host for today, and we have a super special episode, just like all of the other super special episodes. We're going to go over some super things here. This is actually just sort of an aside, a really short one, an aside from my last video. A couple people brought to my attention, a couple of my friends that watched it let me know that this certain clip that I played was pretty alarming, and I should sort of delve into it a little bit further. So I was going to do that, say some things that I meant to say but forgot to say about this specific clip. Now you'll remember it, and it's pretty. I'm just going to point out how manipulative this tactic is that he's using, and how kind of clumsily manipulative it is, and how easy it is to see through. Now, he's about to list a bunch of names, and when he does, pay attention less to who he names and pay more attention to who he doesn't name.
Back at you, and I'm going to say this: a Sandra and Gerald Tanner only come along once in a generation. A Jeremy Runnels, a Zelf on the Shelf, a Lindsay Henson Park, a John Larson, a Jonathan Streeter, a Bill Reel, a Radio Free Mormon, a Simon Southerton, a Michael Quinn, a Juanita Brooks, a Fawn Brody. These people are not easily replaceable.
All right, so I like most of those people that he named. A lot of people have done some cool contributions. The one person he didn't name was, well, himself. And there's a reason that he did that. The reason is because, first off, it makes him come off as humble. The viewer's his fan is going to see this and be like, why didn't you name yourself? You're the biggest ex-Mormon ever. And, oh my gosh, that's because you're so humble. And it kind of frees you up to say, you get that humility, but it also frees you up to say as nice of things and congratulatory things about these people as you can without seeming like you're bragging. You know, the humble brag. Then it also frees you up to say some pretty nasty things about anybody who detracts one of these precious people. Now, just keep in mind, when he's talking about these precious people, he's talking about himself. He's coming up with a clever way to say, don't cross me. Don't fuck with me. I'm John. Don't fetch with me, yo. I'm John fetching Dehlin and shiz. So keep that in mind, and just listen to sort of the us versus them, the you're not with me, you're against me sort of mentality that he has.
So like any ex-Mormon that wants to take one of these people out is not a friend of the ex-Mormon community. You may say you love, you don't like the harm the church does. You may say that you care about people who leave the church or the plight of the church. But if you spend your life trying to take out one of these precious people with lies and with smears, and with unkind, uncharitable attacks, you don't care about the post-Mormon community. Yeah. You care about yourself. You care about your ego. You're broken. You need to get therapy. You need to get help. But just don't pretend ever that you really care about our people, because you don't.
Now, this is a somewhat clever tactic, I suppose, to be able to say, don't cross me, without saying it. There's always a little bit of infighting in the ex-Mormon community. Always will be in any community, really. And even among the spokespeople for that community. But there's not really any smear campaign against Lindsay Henson Park or Jeremy Runnels or Fawn Brody or Sandra Tanner. Who's mad at Sandra Tanner? Nobody. The only person that really has a constant sort of campaign seemingly against him would be John Dehlin. And so he's kind of making up a problem that doesn't really exist. There aren't large numbers of ex-Mormons trying to take out Sandra and Gerald Tanner or discredit Fawn Brody. There's just people who are kind of mad at John Dehlin for a number of reasons that I went over in my last video, and that several other people are going over in their own videos. So all that really was is him explaining to you that don't mess with me. Also, I'm super, super, super humble too. Anyway, John Dehlin hasn't been at this as long as the church leaders have. So he's not quite as good at emotional manipulation as they are. He kind of just comes out and states it. Now, when you get John Dehlin saying that, it sounds like a little more intense even than, I don't know, something like this.
It's wrong to criticize leaders of the church, even if the criticism is true.
There's a famous one. That one's always fun to go over again. Because John Dehlin says it's wrong to criticize leaders of the unchurch, the non-religious, certainly non-religious organization that I'm a part of. But he goes a step further and says, if you do criticize them, you're sick. You need to get help. You're broken. You don't care. If you criticize me, you don't care about any of these ex-Mormons. Then you get somebody like Eyring, and Eyring's a little bit better at it. He's more subtle. His form of manipulation is being able to sob at will. It's irritating as all hell.
If I get a feeling about something or get what I think is an answer, and it doesn't have in it a feeling of love of the Savior and love of the Lord's servants.
Take a look at that. He does kind of the same thing as John Dehlin does there, where he doesn't name himself, but he names he puts himself, with Jesus. Safe thing to do. Jesus and his other servants, which includes him. Same thing that John Dehlin did. He named all this group of people without naming himself, but the group includes him, and it includes especially him. Eyring's doing the same thing right here, where he's telling you, well, if there's something that is maybe disparaging of the Savior, or I don't know, his prophets, those guys, then I say that thing's probably not from God. I'm probably wrong on that one. And so it's kind of funny to watch John Dehlin using the exact same tactics. And it's because Eyring is very manipulative, and manipulative people tend to use very similar tactics. Eyring is just better at it than he is because John Dehlin isn't particularly clever.
It's whether it's your opinion or not. I would think, by and large, for me, it is. I'll feel better if I feel it's consistent with loving the Savior.
Now that's a clever thing that he just did there, because before it was the Savior and his prophets. So you already have that in your head that it's me, it's Eyring that this applies to, but I'm using it to a figure that we already know is unassailable, Jesus Christ. So then he just said, if it's consistent with loving the Savior, then I know it's not just my opinion, but he'd already included himself with the Savior, exactly what John Dehlin did. Well, not the Savior, but you know what I'm saying. He set up a group of people who are unassailable, built them up like they're amazing, and then didn't include himself, but he is in that group of people. Then he tells you that you're sick and twisted if you dare criticize those people. Anyway, that's all I had for today. Just wanted to point out how manipulative that was. Remember, as always, to continue hating yourself, hating the fact that you are a straight white male, as do I, as does John Dehlin. Go find the nearest marginalized person and grovel.
I hate the fact that I'm a straight white male